Hi! Today is a very exciting day because the darkroom that I've been building in my backyard shed for the past month or two is finally ready. And it's almost time to go ahead and make my first darkroom print in over 20 years. Before I get started, however, I would like to reminisce a little bit and show you my prior experiences doing printing in the darkroom. So the story all begins way back in 1991. I was probably around 10 years old at the time, and I went to a summer camp in Maine called Camp Wigwam. While I was there, they did actually have a photography shack. As you can see on this plaque from that summer, where it says that I participated in photography. Now, this was basically a shack that had been covered over with black paper and had some enlargers in it. But it was my first exposure to darkroom photography. Now, the coolest thing about this experience is that I actually still have some evidence of it remaining. I still have some of the original negatives that I shot either that summer or the following summer that were on Kodak T-Max. And the more exciting part is I actually found a print. I'm not 100% sure when this print was made, but it is the oldest darkroom print that I've made that I can actually find. It's kind of hard to date this. However, all you can tell is it was shot somewhere that had an archery program in the woods. Now, that summer was when I first really started to get into photography, and I can't remember whether it was going into that summer or when I got home from that summer that I finally ditched my point-and-shoot camera for my mom's old Pentax Spotmatic, which became my mainstay camera for several years until I finally got a more modern SLR. Now, when I had finally tired of traditional summer camp, I then moved on to a computer camp called Computer Ed High Tech Camps. I think it has a different name today. That was held on the campus of a private school that had much better facilities. I also took photography there. I also have negatives from that experience. This time, I believe this was shot on bulk-loaded Tri-X. That would have been in 93, 94, or 95. I can't find any prints from that experience, but I did find a contact sheet. Flash forward a couple years, I'm in my senior year of high school, and one thing I did a lot in high school was I took dual enrollment classes at the local community college. That community college had an absolutely fantastic darkroom. It had a revolving light-tight door, the best equipment, automatic print dryers. It was a wonderful experience. And this was in the fall of 1998. This was actually the last time that I've been in a working darkroom, unfortunately. However, part of my assignment for that class was to make several prints and mat them, and I still have those prints. Now, after high school, I never really got the opportunity to get back into darkroom photography, mostly due to a lack of facilities. It's a pretty tall order to have a fully functional darkroom, and it wasn't something I could really do at home. Also, after I left college, this was when digital photography started to take over. And it wasn't until several years after that that I finally started getting back into film photography. But at that time, prints just didn't seem to have much attractiveness anymore. When nobody notices anything you do until you share it online, it's more important to go straight from the negative to a scan. So I did that. I got good quality scanners. I did start processing film at home, but I never went any further than scans. Flash forward to today, I finally have a space where I can build a darkroom, and maybe it's a side effect of following a couple of YouTubers that do darkroom work, but the bug hit me. I finally was sufficiently motivated, and I just decided to go ahead and do it. Now, the next thing I'd like to talk about is what I actually plan to print for my first print in the darkroom. The negative that I've chosen to print is not something that I would consider to be a great work of art. It's really something that just happens to have a high level of technical quality, and I think it will be easy to make a good print of. This particular negative that I'm going to be printing has an interesting story behind it. The negative is actually of an ABC liquor store. I know, not the most interesting subject, except when Nick Carver tries to shoot something like that. Where this negative comes from is kind of interesting. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, suggested that for Halloween one year, I dress up as a vintage press photographer. Unlike most people, I took this to the extreme, went on eBay, and bought a Graflex. Now, when I got this Graflex, I wanted to make sure that it worked. Because, you know, with old equipment, you never know. The first thing that I did was I went ahead and I got a 120 roll film back for it, because I wasn't yet prepared to deal with 4x5. Once I got that back, I loaded up a roll of Tri-X, and I went around town to take some test photographs. At this point, I didn't know if the camera worked. I didn't know if anything would come out. I just wanted to go see. So I went to this area in Orlando around this popular coffee shop that I would hang out at a lot, brought a tripod with me, and just shot what was in the area. Across the street from this was this liquor store. After I finished this shoot and got the film developed, I was actually surprised at just how good everything had turned out. In fact, I'm still pleased with a lot of these photographs. Some were outside scenes, some were flash tests inside the coffee shop. So this particular negative I've also scanned, and I was basically blown away at the resolution. This 6x7 negative gave me a scan that was nearly 100 megapixels and actually looked good at 100% zoom. This thing was incredible. It also is pretty simple, and I'm looking forward to trying to print it. So the next step is to go ahead, mix up the chemicals, go into the darkroom, and see what I can do. The darkroom is fully operational. And with that, I think I need a drink. Looking forward to spending tomorrow doing a lot more printing.